disclaimer that my new dog is in here and it is entirely possible she might interrupt at any moment. So just know that, okay? This is the review for One Battle After Another. I said it really strangely just there because I kept calling it Battle After Battle. For some reason, I couldn't fucking remember One Battle After Another. First of all, that's a shit title. Just gonna put that out there. Before I get into the trailers really quick, I'm gonna tell you guys about the trailers. I'm just gonna say one thing quickly about them. I'm gonna tell you the plot of this movie as I remember it. I saw it recently. And then I'm gonna tell you simultaneously also how I felt about it at the time of watching it, okay? So the bad news is that they've actually increased the amount of time that we have to watch trailers and commercials by 1 or 2 minutes. And the way they did that was, there's my dog. They actually, and this might be because this was anticipated to be a giant box office movie, so maybe they were just trying to cram as many as humanly possible in. I don't know if they're doing this for other more routine ones, but yeah. So now we have to see not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 trailers before a movie. But the way they did that was they just made the trailers shorter. They used to be about 2-3 minutes long. Now I think they're closer to 1 to 2 minutes long, but rude. When we finally got the title screen or the production symbol, I said finally, and one person laughed, so that was nice. This movie was trash. I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna be trashing it this whole time. This movie was total fucking garbage, but anyway, I told you I would try to tell you the plot. Hi, Pudge. You okay? Okay, now I've interrupted myself with her. What's up, Pudge? So I'm going to try to tell you the plot. So there we have 3, 4, 5 main characters, right? And that's Leo DiCaprio, who plays Pat. Fascinating, considering this is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And PAT is just PTA in a different order. We have, I think her name was Charlene. I don't fully recall. I also don't remember that actress's name. Sorry, okay? Sean Penn. We've got the new young pup who's Tiona Taylor. Is that her? I think. And then we've got, and Benicio del Toro was also in this movie. But, I am honestly shocked at how many people are giving this movie positive reviews because of how trash it was. And I'm hoping to God, okay, that all the positive reviews that I've seen, they were for much bigger channels than mine, where, they had thousands of views within the first 24 hours of being up on YouTube. I'm hoping that the positive reviews for this were actually people who were paid out with established movie channels, because this was about 10 dumpster fires in a row. Let me tell you the fucking plot. We're already 4 minutes in. So the plot of this movie is that Pat and Charlene were established terrorists, basically. They were in a domestic terrorist organization. It's fictional, called the French 75. And so, but meanwhile, so while they're in this thing, I'm just going to give you a quick plot. While they're in this revolutionary thing, right, Charlene is secretly fucking Sean Penn, who is inside job for American intelligence. And it's totally not clear why the fuck that's happening. Maybe this woman just wants to fuck things up all of the time. Maybe she insists on fucking things up all of the time. But anyway, so Leo DiCaprio, Charlene, Pat and Charlene are in this terrorist organization. Sean Penn is kind of after her, the woman, because she's giving him information, but he also clearly is at least enjoying having sex with her. And then also Sean Penn really wants to get into this secret white supremacist, this elite white supremacist group. But what happens is Charlene gets pregnant and has a baby. It's not clear if the baby is belonging to DiCaprio or Penn's character. Most of the time in movies, it's the undesirable person who ends up being the biological father. But so what happens is Sean Penn, because he wants to join this KKK affiliate circle jerk, he's trying to murder the daughter who he believes to be his in order to get into the KKK affiliate circle jerk. But Leo DiCaprio is supposedly like trained and practiced in terrorism from his past days, having done so. Anyway, so the French 75 terrorist organization actually, this wasn't even established how they got word of the fact that Sean Penn's character was trying to obtain Willa, the daughter, but just magically, one of the other members of the terrorist organization knew that in advance. So she goes and obtains Willa, the daughter, and tries to get her out of harm's way, which Pat then finds out, and it's this crazy mad chase to try to get the daughter back, right? To try to get back with the daughter. I hated this movie. I can tell you guys, I know I brag about this all the time. I'm fucking happy to any chance I get. I know if I'm gonna like a movie or if a movie is any good 10 seconds into it. 10 seconds into this, I was like, oh, fuck. And I had a blanket, okay? You guys, I'm considerate at the theater. I had a blanket, and I realized once I saw the 10 seconds that I hated, I was like, oh, God fucking damn it. I always forget to look up the runtime of movies, but I had a blanket. I had this blanket, as a matter of fact. And so I went under my blanket, and I searched the runtime for this movie, and it was 2 fucking hours and 41 fucking minutes. And I was like, God damn it! Because I was like, fuck and shit. I'm really gonna be here for 3 hours watching this movie. Anyway, okay, so, there's a lot of confusion along the way. The mom is, going back to the plot, the mom of the daughter is a total deadbeat. She just straight up ditches her daughter when her daughter's a baby and is like, oh, I can't be in the revolution like this. And she goes into WITSEC, but then she doesn't want to be in contact with Sean Penn's character. Oh my God. Whose fucking name in the movie is Lockjaw. Paul Thomas Anderson, when you were writing this movie, I think you wrote it, did you also consider naming him maybe like Pointy McVillain Face? Because I imagine that was kind of on your like list of names that you were like thinking about using. Because I've never heard of the surname Lockjaw. I don't think that's a surname. Obviously, anything can be a surname that you can physically write down. But like, yeah, bro, I think we all know you meant to call him Pointy McVillain Face. So fucking stupid. Okay, anyway, so there's a lot of struggle. Leo DiCaprio is clearly, he plays a degenerate. This is a movie about him being a degenerate. I was trying really hard to think of a time where we had a movie about a degenerate or someone who was like semi-degenerate, right? And I couldn't think of anything, but in general, when someone is playing a degenerate or just a shitty person, the whole plot of the movie is to make them a better person, right? To make him or her a better person, get in a better situation, etc. Oh my god, do I only have 24 minutes? Fuck and shit. It's got a red whatever. I can just make another video if necessary. Anyway, this movie was horrible. Okay, it started. First of all, the whole backstory of the secret love triangle with Leo DiCaprio and the other gal and Sean Penn, that took 1 fucking hour. And the terrorist organization, right? That took an entire fucking hour to establish. And then the actual, like, whole chase conflict thing started. And I was like, after an entire hour, and I was like, Broseph, you could have established quite literally everything you wanted to establish there in 15 minutes. But instead we got an hour. Also, like, Paul Thomas Anderson, my guy, we know you have some kind of like weird like sex issue. I'm just gonna go ahead and recommend something called therapy and or maybe some like self-reflection, because we don't want to see it in your movies. And we know, I know that you're doing that because you're like an older guy and you can't have as much sex as you want to anymore. But like, one, it's fucking disgusting. The last thing I want to see on screen in a movie is Sean Penn stroking his dick. And we got to see that, so I didn't appreciate that. But anyway, this terrorist organization called the French 75. Apparently this is based on some book called Vineland, but I don't care. The terrorist organization doesn't have clear goals. All they do is show up and are terrorists at certain points. At the very beginning of the movie, what happened was they were at an illegal immigrants detention center in the United States. Okay, the French 75 was the terrorist group, and I was like, okay, I know exactly where this is going. I definitely don't agree with like blowing people up and freeing the immigrants in detention centers. Like, sorry, I think that's kind of fucked up. But I can see where someone's coming from. You know, they want to shoot a cool movie scene where like, oh, they go in. Honestly, I'm sorry. This is the only thing I could remember. I could compare it to. But there's this movie called Bingo about this dog that's just this most amazing dog and can do everything. And he makes his way to an animal testing facility and he frees all the animals that are being tested on. You know, that kind of thing. I can see where someone's going with that kind of intention with targeting a detention center, right? But I don't know what's cool about throwing tear gas cans at them, because that's what they did. You guys, I'm coming out right now. Hey, what's good? I'm for all this shit that's happening with illegal immigration here in the United States. I'm happy about it, and I don't give a fuck. Write in the comments if you're mad about it. But like, it's out of hand right now. It is out the fuck of hand. With that being said, I don't want anyone having tear gas thrown at them. Okay? Yeah, it's unpleasant and not cool to be in a detention center, right? If you're here illegally. I'm sure that's not fun, but yeah, throwing tear gas cans at people is unsafe and violent and not something I would have wanted to see depicted. You guys, I just wrote down all this insane shit, okay? This is a lot of things. This is 19 things, okay? I feel like PTA just like, he thought up all the craziest things he could possibly think of, and he was like, or it was almost like, imagine if you have all these crazy like subjects in like a fishbowl, and like you pull random ones out, you pull 5 or 6 random ones out, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this into a movie. I think PTA just dumped out the whole fishbowl and was like, I'm doing it all, baby. Okay, so here's what we have in this movie: heist scenes, people referring to black women as black girls frequently, teen girl doing karate, Leo DiCaprio saying woke shit in a high school and vaping there, helicopter shots, Leo being a degenerate. You know what? To PTA's credit, that's not something people normally watch. That's not something people normally make movies about. So, I mean, I guess props to him. Props to you, my dude, for making a movie about a degenerate. Making a movie about a terrorist organization that's full of degenerates. That was at least sort of original. Okay. ICE detention centers, old-timer white supremacists, Sean Penn being an abusive piece of shit, tons of woke shit, drinking and driving, stupid code names, kids parenting the parent. I hate seeing that, but it happens all the time in movies. Obviously, it's going to happen to some degree, but, like, this is outrageous. People not wearing seatbelts in moving cars, car chases, child endangerment and abduction, pregnant woman using machine gun. Brosif, do you think we don't know that's a fetish? Paul Thomas Anderson, on your part? You think we just didn't think of that? Because it's obvious. Anyway, oh, trapdoors. We had some trapdoors in this movie, you guys. Okay, yeah, I hated this movie. I hated it. It was horrible. It was all over the place. A lot of the scenes are really long and dragged out and obnoxious. Obviously, we're suspending disbelief when watching movies, right? Obviously, we're doing that to some degree. And yes, you can do all kinds of things in movies that you can't do in real life. But there were so many times that it looked like Leo was going to get caught, or it looked like, you know, his plan was just going to be foiled. But every time he just magically got out. Like one time he actually did get arrested by cops. Oh, because he was acting really fucking suspiciously where there was insane protests going on. Maybe that was why he got arrested. But he got arrested, and then magically when doing med check, the woman checking him used to be in the French 75, and she just got him to the hospital so that he could escape. And then another time, this was so fucking stupid, you guys. Another time, Del Toro and Leo were driving in a car, and they drove past a cop, and then they were like, oh no! And then they had beers and they started drinking them quickly in order to try to, you know, disguise, like, get rid of the evidence or whatever the fuck. And the cop was right the fuck behind them. Okay, they were like, oh shit, there's a cop. Like, and as soon as they saw the cop started following them. But magically, in the next scene when Leo jumped out, instead of being 10 feet ahead of the cop, they were 1,000 yards ahead of him. So Leo could just magically jump out of the car and be safe, even though the moving vehicle was going like 80 miles per hour. My guy is 50. You guys, I can't remember if he's 50. He's 51. He's turning 51 next month. You can't, right? That's like impossible. Paul Thomas Anderson, for like a 51-year-old man who clearly isn't trained in this shit, jumping out of the car, a moving car going 80 miles per hour and just being A-okay and getting up and running. Like, you know what? I was thinking about that movie Napoleon, because I thought that movie was absolute trash. And I was like, you know, is Ridley Scott like kind of out of it? Because there is some level of mind degeneration once you reach your 80s. So this guy made this movie, Napoleon, in his 80s. And I was like, is that why that movie was such trash? Because that would at least be an excuse, right? But PTA is only 55. I think he's just really fucking woke and out of it. But anyway, what annoyed me so much also was that, so Benicio del Toro like ran the dojo where the daughter took karate, and Leo DiCaprio started running. By the way, when the military showed up to try to find him, because he was still a suspect, I guess, from having been a domestic terrorist, he got a little bit of a head start into he went down a trap door in his house and got into a tunnel and started, crawling away as fast as he possibly could. He probably had 1 to 2 minutes of a head start, and they saw the trap door, they threw gas down there, and he was able to and he even was like he smelled the gas. But I guess Leo DiCaprio can crawl fast enough to defy physics, but I digress. But he saw the gas and he was like, oh shit, and then he got out. He was kind of coughing and had to like rinse out his eyes, but I was like, so you're telling me that military operation where the person's home is found and surrounded, if he had a 1 to 2 minute jump start, that they couldn't obtain him? How fucking stupid. But anyway, what annoyed me was Leo was on the run, and then he ran over to Del Toro's dojo and was like, you gotta help me, these people are after me, and Del Toro was just like, oh, okay, let's go. What in the fuck, dude? That's so stupid. I don't remember exactly what was happening in this movie, but there's this movie called Pineapple Express, and Seth Rogen's character is on the run. I don't remember why he's on the run. I forgot what happened. But he's on the run, and he was supposed to go to his girlfriend's house that night and meet her parents. But he gets there, and he's like, oh, we gotta go, I'm on the run, blah, blah, blah. And then the girlfriend and the parents are like, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's some convincing that has to happen. Paul Thomas Anderson, there's some convincing that has to happen when you're writing a scene. Why am I speaking this way to these big-timey directors? I want to know, because this is not the first time I've done this. I want to know why I'm speaking this way, why I'm being like, hey, what's your name? You can email me, because you're clearly not familiar with how plots work. You're clearly not familiar how dialogue is supposed to go. And here I am saying the same shit to Paul Thomas Anderson, who made Boogie Nights. Like, why are we here? Why are we here? Anyway, that pissed me off, that he was just like, oh, yeah, okay. What pissed me off even more, though, was moments after that, okay? He was like, well, just so you know, moments after he immediately agreed to follow a former terrorist being pursued by the American military on a giant chase, right? Moments after he said that, he was like, just so you know, there's a little bit of a Harriet Tubman situation at my house with some undocumented folks, or something to that effect. And I'm like, wow, how dare you compare undocumented people to people escaping slavery? Is that funny to you? It's one thing to be an undocumented person who came here illegally, and it's another to, I don't know, have had your people trapped by slavery for 300 years and literally not even legally be considered to be a human being. Putting that out there. Anyway, that pissed me off a lot. You guys know that, let me just say this real quick. Do you guys know, all my liberal watchers, which I'm not even sure if I have any, who are like boo-hooing about all the immigration stuff happening now, do you guys know that there are people who practice human trafficking? Did you know there are people who practice human trafficking who specifically target illegal immigrants? They do that on purpose. They they know for a fact, they know where the fuck they're going to be, they know where they're coming in from, they target them immediately, they lie to them, say, oh, we've got a job you can do, if you come in Arizona, Texas, California, whatever, right? They come find you and say, oh, we've got a cool job for you to do, you come with us. And they're like, yeah, oh, it'll only be this long, just come do it. And then they come do it, and then before they know it, they're fucking stuck in Montana knowing very little English. Okay? Is that good? Is that a good thing that human trafficking is a prime target for undocumented people? I didn't think so. Anyway, I did not appreciate any of the scenes with DiCaprio and the daughter Willa. I appreciated zero of them. They were supposed to have some kind of special relationship, which was barely established, and she was going to a dance, okay? And he was like, oh, he wanted to talk to her friend that was at the door waiting for her. And he basically assaulted this guy. He got up in his face, held his head to him and was like, I don't want any funny business, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Paul Thomas Anderson, is that how you treated your kids' friends when they were teenagers? I know it's not, but that wasn't cool. There were actually a lot of shots like this. I can use PJ to help me out here. So PJ is a new person I'm meeting, right? So let's say PJ is an actual human being and we're standing up. I would come to PJ like this and be like, oh, hey, PJ, blah, 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 right? So what PTA did, and I don't know what his deal was here because he's been a filmmaker for so long, so there's no excuse for this behavior. But what PTA did was it was like, hi, there's this new person you need to meet. And he would immediately go to this shot where that person's like, blah, 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 blah. You guys, is that how you talk to people you've just met? You get 6 inches from their face and start talking to them? I didn't think so. Anyway, zero loving, genuine interactions with DiCaprio, with Pat, and the daughter Willa. By the way, I don't know what your guys' problem is here because there's just no excuse for this. Clearly, you guys need some kind of group dialect coach or something because the name Willa is not even difficult, but this happens a lot in all kinds of different movies. We want consistent pronunciation, okay, of certain words that are, I don't know, easy, like the name Willa, Willa. Willa. It's very, very simple, okay? It's not Wolla. It's not Wella. Because people said Wolla and Wella. I'm like, it's W-I, you dipshits. But anyway, yeah, the mom was a fucking deadbeat. Who the fuck just ditches their baby? And not only did she ditched her, I guess she ditched her baby with a more competent father, right? Because Sean Penn was an absolutely terrifying piece of shit, and I believe every single negative thing that Madonna said about him, and she probably just went back on her word to save his reputation. Hi, Sean Penn. My name's Leah. What's good? Anyway, trying to think about where I was. Okay, so she went to a dance with her friends, and when so she was in the bathroom at the dance, and this woman came up to her and said the code words, okay? And she was like, hold on, I wrote them down. I'm going to remember them. Okay. You guys, this is so incredibly fucking stupid. I haven't the foggiest idea why someone like Paul Thomas Anderson would have really written down these words, heard an actor say it, and say, oh yeah, let's go with that. Sounds good. The code words were Green Acres, Beverly Hills, Hooterville Junction. Maybe if I write some kind of weird thriller chase movie, I'll make the code words Dora the Explorer, Blue's Clues, Paw Patrol. Maybe that would sound better, right? But that was real fucking stupid. Also, I'm convinced that that these people that everyone thinks were stupid. Like I told you about the car chase scene, and I told you about Leo just magically escaping everyone who chased him, right? Um, but there was one point where uh, they were like, he was doing some terrorist thing, and one of the terrorist guys was like, "You're gonna be assuming the ID of a mother and son who died in childbirth last month." Uh, because they have legal identification, which also has their birthdays on it. So you can just assume the position of a fucking newborn as an adult. This is what I'm saying again, is stupid shit like this happens all the time. And I'm sick of it. There's no excuse. This was a $130 million movie, okay? And this is the dumpster fire that Paul Thomas Anderson presented us with. I am at a loss. I really am. I don't know why anyone liked this movie. Seriously. Here's the thing. This one movie came out. I was struggling to remember the title of it. This one movie came out somewhat recently, within the last year or two. Joey King was in it. Aaron Taylor Johnson was in it. It had a train. I'm forgetting the name of it. I was just trying to find my phone so I could find it. Here it is. It doesn't really matter, but here's the thing, is I actually, in fact, did hate that movie, but even though it absolutely wasn't my cup of tea, I could acknowledge that it was a pretty good movie. Like, it had a decent plot, it had a decent course of action, this, that, and the third was fulfilled. Yeah, I hated it, but, like, it was still a good movie, right? I was saying this movie was trash. All around. All the way around. And again, like I've said before, it's not the actors' fault. The actors did great. They did their performances very well, right? I'm going to talk about the kids in a moment because I need to tell you guys something. But, like, you can have good actors. This is what I think. This might be why a lot of people liked it. Is like, a lot of people are convinced if something is expensive, has a really good name or names tied to it, and theoretically looks kind of good. Like, basically, I think people think any movie with Leo DiCaprio in it looks good, right? But I'm saying, even if you have those three things fulfilled, your product can still be garbage. There's a guy on YouTube who he like analyzes designer clothing. These are like really expensive brands, right, of designer clothing, but he shows you that the clothes are trash. They're trash quality, they're completely impractical, and they also fall apart. So yeah, that might be a freaking Balenciaga sweater, but it's still garbage. And this was a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, but it was one of the biggest dumpster fires I've ever seen. And I'm fucking mad about it, dude. I'm gonna remember the name of this movie. I was gonna tell you. Okay, Bullet Train. I didn't like Bullet Train at all, but it was pretty good. Like, yeah, I hated tons of aspects of it because it just wasn't my style. But, like, they clearly did a good job, and I can see why people would like it. This one, I have no idea why people would like it. I guess they think that because it's expensive, that makes it good. This movie was pretentious as fuck. I don't know what PTA's goal was here. I really don't. A lot of people on the negative reviews were saying that he was convinced Clown Mala was gonna win when they were making this movie. Probably because he's a brain rot liberal, just like every single other fucking person in Hollywood, but I digress. Okay, so anyway, the girl got taken from the dance. She went to the bathroom this other former member of the terrorist organization founder and said the three stupid ass fucking code words. Green Acres, Beverly Hills, Hooterville Junction. What did I say before? Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer, and Paw Patrol. And then she went with her. But then, okay, then the military fucking showed up and they were like, we've got to find someone. And they started asking people, and they had, at one point they had one of the main military guy like standing there, and he had a bunch of kids lining up, just coming up to him and walking away, coming up to him and walking away. And all he was saying to them, and this is, I don't know why this was not nixed by the American military, because there actually is, it's an actual legitimate, literal job in the military, okay, to be associated with filmmakers that are making movies with featuring the American military, and the advisor has to say whether or not things are accurate. He or she has to like be working with the film constantly in order to make sure it's accurate, because we want to represent our military accurately. And I know for a fact, if a situation like this were to happen, you wouldn't fucking line kids up and ask every single one where all of them could hear, do you know Willis so-and-so? Do you know Willis so-and-so? Do you know Willis so-and-so? Yes or no, because other people can hear that and change your answer. So someone was slacking there in the American military. What's good? My name's Leah again. Okay, so that pissed me off. That scene where her three friends were getting interrogated pissed me off a lot, because you guys, I want to, y'all young folk that were in those scenes, I'm telling you guys, don't be afraid to speak your mind and even confront someone like a movie director. But, do it respectfully, obviously. But if you wouldn't, in fact, say something, or you think your lines are stupid, tell the director that. Okay? In the movie, those kids didn't even know that Willa had disappeared. They had no idea. They had just seen her. She went to the bathroom. But by the time the guy was asking the friends where she was, they were all like, I don't know. They would have said, I just saw her. She's here. She has to be here. I saw her less than 10 minutes ago. They were just like, I don't know. Apparently Willa had a secret phone, because her dad never let her have a phone. But she had a secret phone, and they were asking the kids if they had her phone number, and they kept being like, I don't have it. They wouldn't fucking lie. We don't memorize people's phone numbers anymore, PTA. Why is this guy so out of touch? No, we don't memorize people's phone numbers anymore, but if a giant group of the American military that has just isolated your entire school dance in order to interrogate people, you're probably going to answer correctly to those questions, is my guess. But they would say, I don't know her number, but it's in my phone here. Having that one baby pissed me off too, and that's what gave me a huge red flag for this movie. Was first we got one trailer that was super vague. It was just DiCaprio like staggering, going to a pay phone and being like, I don't know the password. That was the whole trailer. But then we got another trailer where we saw him having his daughter picked up by her friends. And she was like, they, them, Dad, it's not that hard. I was like, oh God, here we go with the woke bullshit. This entire movie was some woke bullshit. And I didn't appreciate it at all. Okay, anyway. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about the, Anyway, you guys, okay, but... Yeah, so Sean Penn's character was desperately trying to get into this KKK affiliate circle jerk, and that was like his whole motivation. But he had to find out if the girl if Willa was in fact his biological daughter or not, because the KKK affiliate circle jerk wasn't going to let him in if he had relations with a black woman, which he in fact did. Going back to that, I know that this was all the way back at the beginning of the movie, but like, I don't think there's anyone who wants to see those types of sex scenes in a movie. Now this is so fucking crazy, you guys. I'm so sick of this shit. In movies a long time ago, I don't know, in the 90s, we used to, the whole movie, the entire movie, okay, would be building up to two characters kissing or admitting their feelings to each other, right? Or one of them admitting their feelings to the other. That was what the whole movie built up to. But now we just get straight up pornographic sex scenes, like, immediately. It's really trashy and really disgusting and really obnoxious. But yeah, anyway, the trailer, huge red flag of the they, them, dad, it's not that hard bullshit. Pissing me off. Okay. Also, where the fuck are there still payphones, dude? The last time I saw a payphone was in like 2017 at a rest stop. I've seen plenty of shells of payphones, but Leo DiCaprio was just able to find a payphone, where they used to be at like a convenience store. Again, the studios and the directors think we're stupid, but I digress. Okay, hated the. Oh, there was a lot of woke speak. I mean, I think I will state for the record, clearly Leo DiCaprio is a good actor. I'm not denying that fact. That is known, right? But like him getting frustrated about that phone call, that went on for way too long. That scene was like more than 3 minutes long. I was like, bro, Sif, this was funny 3 minutes ago. So many scenes in this movie could have been 30 seconds or shorter, but they were like multiple minutes long. Anyway, I might have said all I needed to say. I always forget one really awesome thing that I really wanted to say, but, oh, okay. I'm glad I remembered this. I have a few more things to say. Something that happens a lot in movies, and this I don't know, again, they think we're stupid. So, Leo DiCaprio was supposed to have been around 15 years prior, and then there was supposed to be a time jump to when the daughter was 16 years old. But my guy looked exactly the same 15 years ago as he did in present day. Why do you guys do that? Do you think we just aren't gonna notice? Because I notice, and it also matters. Like, they can make people look young. I know for a fact they made zero effort to make Leo look younger or older. And my guy does not pass his 42. Sorry. I'm too old. But like, that's like the simplest thing. They could have given him gray hair. I really don't know what the point of this movie was. Maybe woke propaganda. Maybe PTA just loves the woke propaganda and shooting sex scenes. I don't know what the point of it was. It was horrible. It was fucking stupid. I will say this was cool. It was shot on film, which was fun. Okay, I'm glad I remembered this. I want to say that for this almost 3-hour movie, I'm rounding up to 3 hours, there were probably maybe 15 to 25 audible laughs from the audience. I didn't see it with that many people. I probably saw it with 15 to 20 people. But there were 15 to 20 audible laughs in a 3-hour time span. That's not a comedy. Paul Thomas Anderson. Is it a comedy if you try to make it a comedy and people just don't laugh at all the jokes? Is that still a comedy? I don't know. That pissed me off. That's if you make a comedy movie, if you make a movie intentionally trying to make it funny, like, you should be getting 15 to 20 laughs per hour, per 30 minutes. Instead, we got 20 laughs throughout the whole 3-hour movie. Okay. This pissed me off a lot. Okay, so not only was Sean Penn in pursuit of trying to get the daughter, and then he got the daughter, and then he handed her off to some hitmen to kill her, but then he was driving away, and then one of the KKK affiliate circle jerk men found him, shot him in the head while he was driving, and his car flew off the road and landed in rocks, presumably making him dead, right? And then Leo even came across that car, that crashed car, in the pursuing of his daughter, and he went up to the car and he saw Sean Penn hanging upside down, blood all over him, and he was like, oh, okay, he's dead, let me go. But then we got the reunion scene, which was horrible, by the way, which was horrible, Paul Thomas Anderson. Bro, you had one fucking job. You wanted to make this a father-daughter movie where there was this really dramatic reunion of both of them, and you failed? Like, when, like, Willa's hiding when Leo finally does find her, and instead of being all happy and excited to see him and running to him, she says the code words. It was a crappy reunion. And I was like, oh, okay, thank God this movie's finally over. Let's get it over with. But so that happened. And then who the fuck comes walking up the road with blood all over him? Sean Penn. Why? He made him living so that he could get him to go to the KKK affiliate circle jerk and then be killed by them. So dumb. So stupid. The one thing that I really got joy from out of this movie, and it was quite literally this one thing, I'm telling you. I just watched Ghost. I told you guys I watched that. Near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite movies ever. I was so happy to see Tony Goldwyn in this movie looking phenomenal. My guy, what do you do? What is it that you do? Because you look younger than Leo DiCaprio. You look great. I was so, and he's older than him, by the way. I was like, oh yes, Tony Goldwyn, he's cool. I'm not gonna watch that government show he was on, but like, that was the one thing I liked. The singular thing that I liked in this movie was that seeing Tony Goldwyn look good was great. Was fun. Other than that, this movie was trash. I really, truly want to know what the goal was here. Like, what in the fuck was PTA trying to say? What was he trying to say? What was he trying to get at with this movie? I don't know. Because it wasn't clear. Maybe he wanted to say, I love shooting car scenes. I'm bad at editing. I don't know how to write dialogue. Maybe he just wanted to share that with us. Maybe that was the whole point of this movie. Thankfully, this movie bombed at the box office. PTA, you deserve it, my guy. Congratulations. It bombed at the box office. Thanks be to God. Okay, I'll tell you this in a minute. Anyway, after we got the reunion scene of Leo, of Pat, and Willa. Oh, by the way, Sean Penn was in fact her father. That's why he wanted to kill her. and he's terrifying. I'll talk about another scene in a minute, but after we got that scene, and after Sean Penn was killed for a second time by the KKK affiliate Circle Jerk, then we got a scene of Pat and Willa at home, and Pat was like, "Oh, your mom wrote you this letter," and like she had just been through this whole. She also found out that who she thought was her biological father was not in fact her biological father, and had this whole traumatic experience. And her mother has just been radio silent to her whole life. But when she was like, when the dad was like, "Oh, like your mom gave you this letter," and there's this stupid, obnoxious fucking letter being like, "I think about you every day, I love you," and then she like cries and hugs her father. I'm like, is that really how you'd react to someone who set you up for this shit and was a deadbeat trash mother? You would really shed a tear about that? Okay. Made no sense. It made no sense. Okay, I'm gonna talk about one more scene, then I'm gonna say the thing I was gonna say a second ago. At the beginning of the movie, when Willow was a baby, Leo was at a store, just like at like a Walgreens or whatever, like buying some stuff for her, and he was like checking out at the register, and Pointy McMillan face was right behind him. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know what he looked like. He didn't know that his baby mama was having an affair with him before. And so he was like checking out, and then Pointy McVillain face was like, "Do you have a baby?" Like he was standing right behind him, right? He was standing right behind him in line, and he was like, "Do you have a baby?" And you guys, why would Leo DiCaprio be like, "Yes"? Why would you? He wasn't directly speaking to him, and why would he be like, "Yes, I do"? And then he was like, "Oh, what's her name?" And I think he was referring to the baby mama, and Pat was like, "Charlene." And then this presumed stranger in a Walgreens said, "That sounds like a black girl's name." And then he fucking said, "I love black girls." And Leo DiCaprio, like, either implying that he loved the mother or he loved the baby. Like, and Leo DiCaprio is just like, that's weird. I'm telling you guys, if someone behaved that way towards my husband, someone's going out in an ambulance. Okay? Why the fuck would you just be like, that's weird? This movie was trash. This movie was absolute trash. Okay, I'm going to say two more things and then we'll be done here. I talked to a guy leaving the theater, because my husband refused to see this movie because he was right in that it was horrible. But I talked to a guy leaving the theater. I was like, "Oh, did you just see that movie?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." That's actually not the reaction you want at any point. Like, can you imagine someone saying that about something you put so much effort in and you really, really, really worked extremely hard on, and you're real, like, the first thing someone says about it is, "Oh yeah, that's pretty good." That means it's forgettable. Anyway, I was talking to this guy, and I was like, "So what'd you think?" He was like, "Oh, it's pretty good." And I was like, "Well, what else did you think?" He told me, and I don't blame him for this at all, he was like, "I thought this was going to be an apocalypse movie." Because he probably only saw the first trailer of Leo DiCaprio, like, desperately trying to get to a phone and not being able to say the code word, and that was the whole trailer. The trailer itself was vague on purpose so that people would go see it. Again, being fucking dishonest. Also, I don't think it's funny to joke about drunk driving or rape. Like, when Pointy McVillain face was thinking he was getting into the KKK Circle Jerk affiliate, they were like, well, we know for a fact that you had a child with this woman. And he was like, yeah, I was raped in reverse. And what he said was that she obtained his semen and made herself pregnant. But men can get raped. Women can rape men. That's is that funny? Like, I guess Paul Thomas Anderson thinks that's funny. But so I don't think that's funny. I don't think it's funny to joke about rape and call a woman violating a man sexually reverse rape. That's not funny. I don't think it's funny to have people not wearing seatbelts in moving cars. I don't think it's funny to joke about drunk driving. I do not want to watch Leo DiCaprio being a fucking dumb shit degenerate for 3 hours. Okay, last thing I'm going to say is this is a lot of people's fault, but like I'm pretty much convinced at this point that if any known successful director approaches a studio, whatever a studio they're affiliated with, and says, "Hey, I want to make a movie about fishing in Alaska," they're just like, "Okay, sure. Here's $30 million. See you in a year." This is like people treating adults like spoiled brats. I don't care if you're fucking resurrected Stanley Kubrick from the grave, come into a studio saying you want to make a movie about whatever. You better have a good script. You better have a good plot. You better have good producers. And whatever fucking product you make from that work project better be good. But it's not a perfect world we're living in, is it?